didn't have to think twice about it. I knew I could do it, and I knew it would change my life. And in many ways, it did. Those words capture the quiet certainty that defined Jessica Lange's choices, even when the outcomes were painful. For years, she and Sam Shepard were seen as one of Hollywood's most intense and admired couples. She was strong, fearless, emotionally open. He was brilliant, restless, and deeply conflicted. From the outside, their love looked powerful enough to survive anything. Behind closed doors, it became a long struggle against addiction, emotional distance, and inner battles that never truly loosened their grip. Jessica loved Sam deeply. She stood by him, protected him, and again tried to pull him back from the edge. But some struggles don't disappear because of love, loyalty, or success. And in the end, even the strongest woman cannot rescue someone who is still running from himself. You go through life, you're kind of in love, and then suddenly you have a great love, Jessica Lange once said, reflecting on what Sam Shepard truly meant to her. That single sentence carried the weight of their entire story. What they shared was rare, overwhelming, and impossible to replace. For nearly 3 decades, they fought to hold onto that bond, even as it tested them in every possible way. From the outside, their ending almost felt inevitable. No matter how deeply they cared for one another, stability never lasted for long. Time, distance, and emotional fractures slowly wore down something that once felt unbreakable. In the early years, Lange couldn't imagine a future without Shepard. When asked about the possibility of losing him, she spoke with certainty. She described how deeply their lives were intertwined. Sam buried her father with his own hands. She was the one who told Sam that his own father had died. He was beside her when she gave birth to their children. These weren't just shared memories. They were proof of a life woven tightly together. And yet, despite all of that, they eventually went their separate ways. Their love began with an intensity few people ever experience. From the moment they met, they were consumed by one another. Lange once described those early days with awe. They were wildly in love, inseparable, unable to do even the simplest things apart. It was the kind of passion that shuts out the rest of the world. Despite their fame, they guarded their private life carefully, allowing only brief glimpses of what they shared. But when the relationship finally ended, the depth of its complexity became impossible to ignore. In 2010, Shepard reflected openly on their years together. He admitted they were an incredible match, but not without constant friction. At one point, he said that Lange was the only woman he could imagine living with, quietly acknowledging just how difficult he could be. It was a love marked by devotion, volatility, and deep understanding. It burned brightly, even as it slowly consumed them. What ultimately broke them was not a lack of love, but the weight of everything that came with it. Their relationship stretched across decades and was shaped by passion, creativity, and constant tension. Shepard himself admitted as much in personal letters to a close friend, where he reflected on both the magic and the damage. In one of those letters, he described proposing to Lange in December of 1983 while they were filming together in rural Iowa. Overcome by emotion, he bought an antique sapphire ring and acted on impulse, pulling her into the cold and asking her to marry him as snow fell around them. It was a rare moment of pure joy. Yet despite that proposal, they never married. They stayed together for more than 25 years, finally separating in 2009. When Shepard first met Lange on the set of Francis in the early 1980s, he was already married, ending a long relationship to be with her. That decision haunted him. He later admitted that abandoning his previous life was one of the deepest regrets he carried. Still, he believed his love for Lange justified the pain. Over time, however, the romance grew darker. Shepard acknowledged that heavy drinking and destructive patterns slowly poisoned what they had built. Eventually, they stayed together largely for their children, Hannah Jane and Samuel Walker. Lange never diminished what they shared. Even after everything, she called Shepard a remarkable man, saying no one compared to him in terms of presence and intensity. In one of her final interviews before his death, she spoke with striking honesty. She didn't pretend he was easy. She acknowledged his darker side, but also the humor he carried with him, a combination that defined him completely. Shepard, for his part, spoke of Lange with deep admiration. He often said he had never known her to be dishonest, not once. What moved him most was her humility and her grounding, qualities he believed came from her Midwestern roots. Beyond her beauty and talent, he saw something rare and astonishing in her. Still, love alone couldn't quiet the conflict between his need to create and his ability to stay present. That inner struggle shaped their life together and made peace difficult to sustain. For Lange, the effort was relentless. She faced Shepard's addictions, his emotional distance, and his tendency to disappear into himself. Though he remained the great love of her life, making the relationship work often felt impossible. She later reflected that their connection was never meant to become a traditional family life. It began as an intense love affair that neither of them could walk away from, even as it demanded more than either could give. The hardest part was separation. Shepard was never someone who followed a partner's career. He visited his family but never stayed long enough to settle. Lange believed he would have been content disappearing into a quieter life together, but she couldn't stop working. Long stretches apart became routine, and the emotional weight of that distance slowly accumulated. Over time, the relationship forced Lange to change how she approached life itself. She came to believe that happiness could be a choice, that not every hardship needed to define her. Through everything, she never lost her independence. She made it clear that her success was always her own, not something given to her by the men in her life. As the years passed, her focus shifted toward family. Motherhood grounded her, and later becoming a grandmother brought a lighter, deeper joy. Her world began to center on connection rather than chaos. Shepard, meanwhile, continued to move through life like a solitary figure. Friends described him as someone always searching for something he could never quite find. Even during their marriage, he maintained places to retreat to, spaces where he could disappear. That instinct to withdraw never left him. When he learned he was terminally ill, his world began to collapse inward. His health declined, stability slipped away, and despair set in. His final months were marked by physical struggle and emotional reckoning. Those close to him sensed the unraveling long before the end came. When he died in 2017, it felt like the closing of a story that had always carried a tragic undercurrent. Looking back, it almost seems remarkable that Lange and Shepard stayed together as long as they did. His solitary nature clashed endlessly with her